Well, thanks for listening to the LCR Media Podcast, where we get to know the pros. I'm your host, LCR Naylor Taliaferro, and it's good to be back in the saddle with another IBG episode coming at you over the weekend here recording this. Had a great time at Equip. Hopefully you guys checked out those episodes, recap and Influencer Live and interviews that I had there and all that. It was a good time. Lots of fun, exciting things to come in the future with Equip, as well as just for LCR Media. Like I said in some previous episodes, I'm going to really try and step it up even more with LCR Media and see what else I can do and achieve to keep bringing the community together and just help educate, right? That's, for me, that's what it's all been all about. I truly feel like that is my purpose, to educate, to bring everyone together, the community, large groups at a time, and just share whatever we can, to make each other better so that we can be better in our personal life and our business, and we can just win together. I've been so passionate about this industry because it literally saved my life back in my retail management days when I had nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. And I was I was basically given an ultimatum by my boss, that's what you want to call him, whatever, the general manager or whatever. And he just told me, he looked at the pictures of my family. I know I've told this story before, but for those of you that haven't heard it, it never gets old. I don't think. Every time I tell this to someone, they're just kind of like, stupefied by the situation. But he looked at the pictures of my family and said, "You have a beautiful family, but you're going to have to choose either them or this place." And I just kind of cracked at that point. I didn't say anything in response. He left, and that was kind of the catalyst that pushed me over the edge. I was already trying to find a way out. I was already really losing my life. Just everything was just a mess in my personal life. I didn't really recognize who I was anymore. I was just really in a bad spot. Mentally, emotionally, and physically, in a lot of ways too. But I had just started part-time mowing lawns, like 5 or 6 yards that year. So when I put in my 2 weeks notice that winter, around this, close to this time of year, coming up on the holidays, I put in my notice, and that was it. I just went all in on. I had nothing else to turn to but lawn care, and I had kind of toyed around with the idea many years prior to that, which is probably about 20 years ago now, that I thought about starting my own lawn care business. But 20 years ago, things were totally different. It was more big landscape companies, and it was kind of more frowned upon by the average homeowner to have a big landscape company to take care of themselves. Like, you can't mow your own lawn and this and that, or, oh, you have a landscaping company? Oh, aren't you fancy? Like, it was a totally different vibe. Now it's like, and there weren't like solo guys driving around with trucks and trailers, or just lawn care specific companies, treatment companies. Like, that was not a thing as it is now. Fast forward 20 years later here in 2022, it's a big deal. Like, now that everyone can start any kind of business in the green industry and be successful, whether you're just a solo guy or girl in a truck and a trailer, or just a truck, with a ramp rack or something, whatever it is, you can just you can make a good living and support your family. Or if you're single, just kind of prepare for a family if that's the road you want to go, or just provide a good living for yourself. And now the mentality for the average homeowner is, you don't have, a lawn care company or a landscaping company? Like, why don't you? Like, kind of like everyone's doing it, like, people value their time more and more. And my children's generation and the generations coming after them appreciate their time more, and they just, as much as they value hard work in different ways, it's in different ways. And if they can find ways to outsource things that can just be, it doesn't, some people still really want to get involved in their landscaping, or they really like fixing things up around their house. Some people are more handy like that. Even my children's generation, like, there's all different folks, all different types of kids out there that are going to grow up to be more like that. But the majority of the younger generations just appreciate having more time to do things that they want to do. So if they don't enjoy fixing up things around the house that are broken, or if they, just don't enjoy keeping their house clean, or doing stuff out in their yard, then if they can find a good, affordable service provider to do those things, then they will. They'll find a lawn care landscaper. They'll find a housekeeper, a cleaning service. They'll find a handyman or a plumber or electrician or whatever they need to fix up their things so that they can be spending that time with their kids or their pets or sports or just being active, going to the gym, going for a run, bike riding, whatever it is. So anyway, I digress. Just, this kind of is relevant to this episode, ironically enough. But, so all of that, I did, where was I? Back to, yeah. So I was thinking about having my own company 20 years ago, but it just wasn't as big of a thing or even a thing at all where it is now. So, 8-9 years ago when I actually took that plunge in, after being part-time for a year, it was more acceptable then. It was a lot easier to get business, and I grew very quickly. And literally this industry, and then I stumbled upon this community in its infancy early on that first year full-time in business, really helped save my life in a lot of ways. Like I really kind of focused on healing myself mentally and emotionally, read or listened to, I should say, right? We all know the deal with audiobooks when we're out there mowing or doing whatever we're doing. Listen to a lot of self-help books, a lot of podcasts, even though there wasn't as much then as there is now, and just really try to rebuild myself, repair myself, rehabilitate myself. There you go. That's the word that I was really looking for, so that I could be a better father, a better husband, a better son, and just a better person, a better man. That's really what I'm focusing on now, so that I can just be the best that I can be, and be a steward to everybody in my life and people that probably will be meeting in the years to come as well. So anyway, with all that being said, I'm just really am passionate about this industry. So anything I can do to help grow the industry and help touch other people's lives like you've touched mine, that's my goal. That's my purpose. So I'm going to keep pushing hard with LCR Media and see what else I can do while still maintaining my lawn care business, as challenging as it is sometimes. I do have some better staffing now, so hopefully we can ride that as long as we can. But at any rate, there's lots of more exciting things coming down the line with LCR Media. There's going to be the podcast summit again, second year coming up here. Last winter we did it at Mulchmate headquarters up in Maryland, not too far from me. This year it's going to be at the Almond headquarters, Caleb and Brittany Almond's new shop and studio. We're going to have it there. It's going to be January 28th. 9 to 5. More details to come. I'm going to have a whole episode dedicated to that. So those of you that are interested, podcasters, and those that just want to be guests on our podcast, just stay tuned for that. That'll be coming up in the next, couple of weeks or so, or it might be one of the next episodes coming up after this. Not exactly sure where it's all going to fall in, but more details to come with that. But this IBG episode, I recorded a while back actually, and I was feeling a certain kind of way. And part of it is basically some of what I just talked about, the passion and where I was at when I just went all into lawn care and everything else, and things I learned along the way, and my own personal struggles and things that I didn't want to compromise, coming from retail management where I felt like I was used and abused a lot with, all the customers and employees and managers above me and all that nonsense, becoming my own business owner, my own boss, being able to take more ownership of my life and my business and not deal with that kind of stuff, not deal with, nasty customers, the Karens and the Jeffs or the Randys or whatever, not dealing with any of that stuff, any longer than I have to. As soon as I find a problem, nip it in the bud immediately so that I don't have to deal with that kind of stress anymore in my life. But so I recorded along a decent, long, whatever, episode, IBG episode about kind of, what is the title here? Oh yeah, it was, I don't do this just for fun. So basically I go into a lot of detail and examples of how this is my business and it's a business. It's not, I'm not doing this for fun. I mean, of course I enjoy myself, but it's not like, a volunteer thing. I'm not doing it to be bossed around by 100 different people, all, or more. Or even 40 people when I first started out, 30 to 40 people the first couple of years, in solo. I'm not going to have all these little bosses after I just got rid of my horrible boss that gave me an ultimatum to pick, this job or my family. What kind of awful thing is that, But so I kind of went into a lot of detail about how I feel about all that. But I wanted to have this little intro to the intro of that episode, right? Because in the interim, for one thing, I didn't upload this episode for a while because I wanted to listen to it back because I felt like after I recorded, I kind of really went down some some deep, like more unfiltered rabbit holes compared to my normal podcast episodes. So I was like, let me listen to this back before I just give it to Mr. Producer and let it ride. Like, I just want to make sure, that I didn't go too far off the rails and, kind of alienate some of my audience or whatever. But at any rate, I listened to it back. I'm like, you know what? I'm going for it. It wasn't all that bad. I said some really heartfelt things, and I think they're things that are valuable to those that are just starting out, or maybe so you can avoid these things, or maybe that you're dealing with this stuff and you're struggling, and hopefully this will let you know, like, hey, it's okay to one, unfortunately, be in this situation, but it's imperative to get out of these situations and take control and ownership and all that stuff. So I wanted to make this kind of intro to set that up, because it's been so long since I actually recorded this episode, and because it took so long, in the interim, I got a voicemail that I'm going to play right before the episode officially starts. I'm going to end it with this recording of a customer or a potential customer that just really seals the deal, right? It just hammers this whole episode home, because, like I've said many times in previous past content all over the place, podcast, YouTube, whatever. It's all about route density, and I'm very specific with what services I offer, where I offer them, and I just don't budge. I don't bend over or anything like that. So my voicemail, when I don't have an answering service or whatever, I just have my voicemail, and I have different recordings for different times of the year and whatever. But it ultimately says what neighborhoods, of course these things have to be updated from time to time, but it says what neighborhoods that I service and what services that I provide for those neighborhoods. So this way it hopefully filters a lot of people out that are all over Richmond, all over town, 30 minutes away at times, calling me for a quote. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, it's, out of my service area. So trying to filter some of that out so I don't have to call these people back just to tell them that. I leave this information in the voicemail to make it easier for them and me, and streamline things and just be all clear and out in the open. But this person's reaction to my voicemail, and it's just short and sweet, it's definitely short and sweet, but this reaction is why I made this episode, and but I made the episode prior, but I mean, it just really seals the deal. It drives my point home to not let people dictate how you run your business. So with that, guys, let me play this real quick, and then we'll jump right into it.
Unbelievable. He only does certain neighborhoods.
Here we go.
Well, thanks for listening to the LCR Media Podcast, where we get to know the pros. I'm your host, LCR Naylor Taliaferro, and on today's IBG episode, this episode is more of like a public service announcement, something that I just really need to get off my chest. Just like most of my IBG episodes, things that, pop up over time, or while I'm, on the lawn striping, or some catastrophe happens, or something really awesome happens, and I'm just like, this would be a good topic of discussion, or let me hash this out and have some key points to talk about. Well, this is just something that's kind of like 8 years in the making here. I've been in business, my lawn care business, for 8 years now, and that's pretty much what this is. 8 years in the making, and a public service announcement, because, and just like the title says, I'm not just doing this for fun. As much as I love mowing lawns and beautifying people's lawns, and I truly do. I know there's a lot of folks out there that don't like the mowing as much as they like landscape maintenance, or design build, like landscaping or hardscaping, whatever it is. All the different services underneath the umbrella of the green industry. Not everyone likes mowing lawns. They like something else. And they might just tolerate mowing lawns because they understand the cash flow and the recurring revenue of it all. It's easy to get your foot in the door to offer some of these more profitable services like fertilization, weed control, or installing a patio, or all these other things that you can add on that sometimes people are more skeptical to start off with. if they don't know you or your new business or whatever. But most people are more lenient or whatever. They're more easygoing to allow people to just cut their grass. If you're just cutting grass, whatever. So mowing lawns is something that a lot of people tolerate, but there's a lot of other folks such as myself that actually like mowing lawns. Like I truly like mowing lawns and actually don't like building. I've never tried to build a patio, but nothing about building a patio is attractive to me at all. Like it's not something that I would want to learn to do or anything. It's not appealing. That's the word that I was actually looking for. So, but there's the whole thing is there's something for everyone out there. That's the whole thing. That's the whole point. So as much as I love mowing lawns, I'm not doing it just for fun. Like I enjoy what I'm doing. That's why I started my business. I got out of retail management for, it was just past 15 years and it was just sucking my soul away, ruining my life. I needed to press the hard reset button and start over. Lawn care was something that I was able to latch onto because I was one of those homeowners that really enjoyed it at my house. I enjoyed, just taking care of my lawn, making the grass green, starting from scratch, not the house we have now, but a house many years ago before I started my business that we had, there was nothing but dirt. There was no sod put down or nothing. So we had to start from scratch. So I learned a lot trying to, grow grass and keep the weeds out and this and that and the other thing. And, I just developed my green thumb as a homeowner and really enjoyed it. So, that seemed to be the next best option for me to get out of retail and press the hard reset and do something else to try and make a living. Well, let me start a lawn care business and see how that goes. So eight years later, it's going pretty good. Is all I could say, right? I'm still at it, but again, it's not for fun. And why do I keep saying that, right? What do I mean by all that? What I mean is there's so much nonsense that we put up with and tolerate and maybe don't even know. You don't know what you don't know. I've learned a lot over the years. I'm still learning, right? Rookie for life. I'm always trying new things and learning. But there's so much nonsense out there and it's super frustrating and we don't need to tolerate it. It's our business and it is a business. We're not just doing it for fun. We're not just doing it because we were desperate or because we needed to, to pay our bills. Yes, those are all factors. Yes, it is fun for me and other people. Yes, I do need to pay my bills and it's helping me pay my bills. Yes, this, that, and the other thing. But that doesn't mean we can be used and abused. Like weekly accounts versus bi-weekly accounts or 10-day mowing accounts. I had a whole episode about this a few episodes ago. You can go check back, scroll down and see that, all the differences. But I want weekly accounts because I want to enjoy mowing nice, well-manicured lawns, right? I live in an area where I can do that. I don't live in a rural area where I have no choice, but to mow acres bi-weekly. That's fine. But that's not where I live and that's not what I enjoy either. So that all works out, right? For me, fortunately, it works out that I live where I want to work. So I live in the neighborhoods around the neighborhoods where I want to work in with the type of lawns that I enjoy mowing, striping, nice green, thick, lush grass. That's how I was as a homeowner. That's how I made my lawn. And that's the lawns that I want to take care of. I feel like I can live vicariously through every single lawn that I take care of. But I can only do that weekly, right? Like you can't make bi-weekly lawns look like that. So I just don't even bother with bi-weekly or any of these other things. People try and some still squeak in here and there. I'm not talking about like it's super hot and dry in the summer and you have to skip a yard or something. That's just part of the business. I get that. You don't want to damage the grass. You don't want to break all the grass blades, running them over when they're dry and crispy and brittle and stuff. Obviously that's part of the territory. You don't want to do that. But I'm just talking about people that just sign up for bi-weekly because they're cheap. Or they just have a bunch of weeds and it only grows, so every so often. It doesn't really grow weekly. They've got patches of weeds that grow faster than others throughout the yard, but it's not like the whole thing grows every week necessarily. Those are just the people that I try to stay away from because it's not satisfying for me. Maybe it's satisfying for you and other things are, and that's the point of this episode is for you to figure out what's good for you and stick to it. don't let the customers dictate. That's another thing on my list. Don't let people dictate your schedule or dictate the services that you offer, how you offer them. You know what I mean? Like, don't let people, in a way, you can have a lot of little bosses. Some of you or a lot of you may have left corporate America or some other job or career to get away from horrible bosses, right? And being bossed around and micromanaged or whatever. Poor leaders. You want to just do it yourself. Even if you're all by yourself and you don't have employees, you don't ever intend on having employees. You intend on being a solo owner operator forever. It's perfectly fine. And be your own boss. But all these clients can be little bosses, and it can be super stressful if you allow it to go on that way. So you want to make sure that you are putting your foot down and you're not just doing whatever they want you to do. Don't let them dictate your schedule. And, like, hey, can you come tomorrow? Hey, can you come at this time? I prefer if you do this. I prefer you do that. Like, oh, we're having company tomorrow. Do you think you can come a day early? Like, why didn't you tell us this ahead of time? Or why do you think that's a thing? I mean, obviously there's some one-off situations, right? Hey, my daughter's graduating. We want to have a party on Wednesday, and I know you normally come on Thursdays. Is there a way that you can, come on Tuesday or come Friday prior instead of Thursday, just so that there's, one more day less that it's growing by Wednesday, the grass is growing Wednesday or whatever, and some people understand if you explain to them, like, well, we're in your neighborhood every Thursday, not every Tuesday or Friday or whatever. And I just can't afford to drive out there just for your 1 yard because of some scheduling change on your part. Like, sometimes you can make exceptions. Obviously, it's your business, do whatever. But I just mean, ultimately, don't let people that are just, whatever their reason, they're just lazy or they just don't, they just want to be, there's a lot of bossy people out there, right? They just want to boss everyone around. They just want to micromanage everyone in their life and everyone's life. So don't let them do that to you. Don't let them micromanage your life and your business. And you have a whole bunch of little horrible bosses. Make your own schedule, stick to your schedule, communicate your schedule. Don't let employees mess up your schedule. So if you have employees or thinking about having employees, grow a team. Don't have employees. Have team members. We're all on the same side. We're all playing the same game. We're all trying to win. We're all trying to accomplish the same goal. We're a team. Try to have that culture and that mentality and find people that fit those roles instead of employees that call out all the time and messes up your schedule. Now you can't get everything done that you had planned. Now you have to send an email. You have to communicate to the clients that you were supposed to be there. Hey, we'll be there tomorrow. Sorry. You can tell them, it's up to you if you want to tell them, I had staffing issues or equipment breakdown, whatever. Like, that's up to you. But, the point is that they are now messing up your schedule, or, hey, employees, hey, I don't want to work on Tuesdays. I want to work on this day. Or, hey, let me think of all the random things that people, hey, I know we get paid bi-weekly, but can we get paid weekly? No, now I'm not trying to be a jerk. Like, I get it. Like, I get there's pros and cons to both weekly and bi-weekly. I'm not going to even go down those rabbit holes on this episode. My point is, you can listen to suggestions from folks that are, your employees, or your team, that is maybe, hey, a lot of places pay weekly. Is that something that you think you can look into? It'd be really helpful, whatever. They go into a whole thing about it. And maybe you can look into it. But at the end of the day, it's your decision. Bi-weekly or weekly, you're the one processing payroll, or it's your company or whatever. And it is what it is. Like, at the end of the day, they're still getting paid. It's not like they're not getting paid for they're just getting paid more. They're getting 2 weeks worth of a paycheck at once. So they just need to learn how to budget their money instead of blowing it all in one shot. That's the thing. They want to get paid weekly because they're living from paycheck to paycheck. But if they just budget, they're still getting paid the same amount of money every month, every 2 weeks. It's just not coming every week. It's coming in bigger clumps. So you just need to budget, and sometimes it's hard for you to explain that to them, and it's hard for them to even grasp that concept. But at the end of the day, it's your decision. Don't feel pressured or bullied like, you're desperate for people, you're desperate for help. Me too, I get it. We all are. So you don't want to be a jerk. You want to listen. You want to treat your people, well. You want to build a good team. but don't bend over backwards. Don't do things that you know are not things that you should be doing or don't want to do. Hey, can you lend me some money? I'll cash app you. I was trying to think of the new lingo. I'll cash app you, like what? On Friday when I get paid, I'll cash app you. Can you loan me like $50? I really need to get gas or something. Like, again, you start going down that path, it's hard to get off that path. Like, hey, I can give you an advance of your paycheck if you want. That's a thing, that's it. Like, you don't have to pay anything back. You're just going to get less. You're going to get some of your paycheck now so that when you get your paycheck, it's going to be less. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way it is. So there are options. There are ways around it. But it's just about, again, being the owner and not allowing your employees or your customers to treat you, the way that however they want to treat you. Another example of employees, like, kind of messing with you and whatever, is they pick the type of equipment or you feel more obligated to pick type of equipment for them. I've been guilty of this myself back in the day, like, oh, they really like this trimmer over that trimmer. Let me just replace all these trimmers with this trimmer. Or, they really like sit down zero turns versus stand on zero turns. But if stand on mowers are more efficient and you're going to fit better on your trailer and they do less damage or can get, mow more lawns and so on than a sit down zero turn, then why are you going to buy sit down zero turns for employees that will most likely not even be with your business for very long? And now you're stuck with stuff that you catered for these random employees and they're not even like real members of your team or anything. You build a team, one goal, one mission, everyone's on board. Yes, everyone should have suggestions and opinions and thoughts and ideas, frustrations maybe sometimes that you can work through, challenges. But at the end of the day, everyone still has the same goal. It's not about them. It's not about, well, I'd rather just be standing on a mower all day, or I'd rather just be sitting on a mower all day, or I'd rather, I don't like having the guards on the trimmers. We just need to take them off, or I'm not going to be able to trim properly, or I don't want to trim at all. Like, don't let these people boss you around. Like, no, like your team is your team. Build a team, and they're not going to act that way. They're not going to treat you that way.
Hey friends, Mr. Producer here, and I've been listening to Naylor emphasize route density on his podcast for over a year now, and I've encouraged him to take all this material and create a masterclass to put all of his knowledge in one place and share it with you. This is going to be a live 3-week course. Nothing's pre-recorded. You'll have access to group live streams and one-on-ones with Naylor. Every session ends with action steps that you can implement right away in your business. Plus, you'll get a copy of the session recordings emailed to you. Hey, if you want to learn how to make $1,000 all the way up to $3,000 a day in lawn maintenance through route density, then you need to click the link in the episode description. Trust me, you won't be disappointed.
Welcome to Toro Tuesday. This week, I want to talk about the multi-force leaf plow attachment. So this is literally a plow, but it's for leaves. So again, as always, if you want the visuals, go ahead and click the link in the episode description to take you to Toro.com, and you can take you right to the page for the leaf plow, and you can check that out and see what it looks like. But basically, it looks like a giant snow plow with 2 wheels on the bottom and kind of like a rake all the way along the bottom, it's all aluminum, and so the rake is kind of like tines. It literally looks like a giant rake, which helps you scoop up any debris and leaves for you to push big piles of debris and leaves where the blowers may be, as if you've done leaf removal before, and as you start blowing, all the leaves out of the nooks and crannies, mulch beds across the lawn, and you're clearing it all off, eventually you accumulate such a big enough pile that it's hard for you to move it, even with the most powerful backpack blowers. So it's a lot easier for you to get the leaf plow, and then you can just push the piles wherever you need to go, to the curb to suck it up with a leaf vac, or into the woods if there's some natural areas that you're going to. And so that's really beneficial for that. It does have a lot of like holes, it's kind of almost looks like mesh to a certain extent all the way around the whole thing, so that it kind of gives you that airflow. But basically, it's just meant for easily moving wet leaves, debris, just big massive piles of stuff from one place to another without damaging the turf. Because, like I said, on the bottom, it's just like a rake, so you're just kind of like combing through the turf as you're moving along the piles of leaves and debris, and it easily attaches to the multi-force, the hitch receiver. It easily attaches there. You can fold it up so that you can easily store it on trailers and so on. And it's heavy duty. I misspoke. It's not aluminum. It's steel, galvanized steel, and it's just built to last. And basically, if you think about any leaf removal jobs that you've done in the past, another example, where you would normally be tarping large piles of leaves, right? Because you get to that point where you've got these big piles of leaves and debris, and you really can't move it anymore with backpack blowers. Like I said, what do? A lot of times you either blow those piles onto a tarp or rake it onto a tarp, and then you drag the tarp wherever you got to go. Again, to the curb to suck it up, or up in your trailer or truck bed, or into the woods. Either way, that's tarping and dragging, and it takes longer and more energy. So using a leaf plow eliminates the need to do that. You can just push those piles instead. So again, for all the full details and the visuals, since this is all audio, check out the link in the episode description for Toro.com. The same thing with building clients, finding clients, creating clients, instead of having a bunch of customers. If you have loyal clients that are relational, not transactional like customers, all customers care about is one-time purchases or every so often purchases. They're not invested in you and your business and what problems you may or may not have, what may or may not excite you or get you motivated. They don't care about any of that. They just want you to come clean up their mess or whatever their issue is. And that's fine. But you're going to have more problems with those people. Those are the first people that are going to walk out and kick over some grass. Be like, oh, it looks like you missed a spot here. Look at this little clump of grass here that was pressed down by the mower tire. And if I walk all the way over here and kick it up with my foot, look at it. It's like 5 feet tall. Look at that thing. Oh my gosh. Wow, I don't think you did your job. It's like, those are the people that you don't want to be dealing with. You don't need those people. Because when you have your loyal clients that grow a relationship with you, they know about your family, maybe you know about their family, maybe, or they're just nice and they say, hey, how are you? It's hot. You guys have something to drink. You want something cold? I've got ice pops, if you want some, whatever, just nice people. Just those are clients, people that aren't going to give you a hard time if you're running late. If you're a day behind and it doesn't have anything to do with rain or whatever, you know what I mean? Like you make a mistake. And, you fix it and they're like, oh, no big deal. You miss something. They're not going to come out there with a magnifying glass to look for that one blade of grass that somehow blew back onto the driveway or the sidewalk or something. Like, they're not going to do that typically if you find a bunch of the right clients. They're just nice people that value. You need to find people that are driven by value appreciating clients. Those are the ones that you want. More middle-class folks that appreciate the dollar. I once heard a while back, from servers, in restaurants and so on, I believe is what it was, that the middle-class customers were their best customers because they tipped the most versus, the people in poverty, like low-income folks are typically not going to tip very well because they don't have much money at all to tip. But then the people that are really wealthy, upper class, are cheap and stingy, and they don't tip as well a lot either. The people that consistently tip the most, according to wherever I heard it, is middle class because they appreciate the value of the dollar because they work hard to earn their money and they know that you're working hard to earn your money. And they appreciate that and they value that as long as you're doing a good job, right? Don't screw them. Don't try to get over on them, cut corners and still bill them the same and all that nonsense. Don't do that. Then they'll get really upset because they're busting their butt, coming home at the end of the day, expect you to have done your job. And if you didn't, and then you said you did on top of it, or you damaged something and then you act like you didn't do it, that's what them Ring doorbells are for, man. Gotcha. So that's a way to go the opposite there. But you do a good job, they appreciate it because they're trying to do a good job to earn money for their family. So middle class is typically, the best clients all the way around. I would imagine. I've had that experience as well. There's a lot of, one of the neighborhoods that we're in has a lot of affluent folks, a lot of nice houses, $1 million homes. Some of them are really uptight folks, right? But not all of them, not a lot of them actually. Surprisingly, there's a lot of, CEOs and, VPs of their own business, of big businesses, or CEOs of their own business or other businesses. And they're great people, super understanding, always coming out, or always, chatting if they're walking the dog, they just happen to be coming and going while you're out there or whatever, waving, that's who you want, and it's just more of like a personality trait that you want to surround yourself with. And you can't really define that by where they live and how much money they make. Because again, some of the wealthiest people are the most uptight, cheap, micromanaging, getting out there, kicking over the grass people. But also the other people, the broke ass mentality people, the poverty mindset people, the low income people, a lot of times are like that for a reason because they can't get out of their own way. I'm sorry, I don't want to be mean, but there's a lot of folks that cheat the system and they would just rather be a victim or rather just, blame everybody else than put in some hard work. Then they're going to give other people a hard time that are working hard, your yard is this is in the past, like early days, man, I had to deal with this all the time. Like your yard is filled with weeds and you're over here asking me if I clean my deck before I come on your yard. Are you kidding me? No, I clean my deck after I leave your yard because of your yard. I don't want to bring all your nastiness onto the rest of my, list for the day with nice yards. And you're over here, do you clean under your deck? Are you crazy? Like, you must be on something. Man, those are the crazy people that you want to stay away from because they are stressful. I remember this one lady I would have to ring the bell when I was done hacking her weeds down every 2 weeks. And she would, and meanwhile, both of her neighbors on either side had nice plush, carpet lawns. One of the neighbors flagged me down the first or second time that I was mowing. She was like, "Hey, I'm so glad she found someone. You seem like such a nice guy. I hope you stick around. But can you do me a favor and not point your shoe anywhere near my grass? Because I work really hard. I spend a lot of money to get my grass to look this nice, and I don't want any of their weeds blowing in my lawn." I'm like, okay, yep, gotcha. Which I wasn't blowing anything in her lawn anyway, but she's probably just being super proactive. But so that, it's not like I say all that to say that we weren't in some neighborhood where it's more rural and there's just, typically weeds grow a lot easier than grass, a lot of trees, things like that. No, this was just a nice cookie cutter neighborhood where this person had no business having a yard like that except just not caring and being neglectful. And all she cared about was the fact that it had to be mowed. Otherwise she'd get a letter from the HOA and get fines and all that stuff. And she wasn't going to mow it. And I guess no one else in their family was going to mow it. So it had to be mowed. So that was me, the sucker, every 2 weeks, hacking down her weeds, the new guy, first or second year in business, and ringing the bell so she can come out and with my check in her hand, standing there, looking around, looking at the lawn. Wait, did you miss a spot over here? Trots down the stairs, walks over, looks at some nonsense, oh, okay, no, I thought that was something else, and whatever nonsense, I'm like, oh man, just give me my check, lady, so I can get out of here. And then eventually, when she was 100% satisfied and soaked up, killed another 5 to 8 minutes of my time that I was not getting paid for, could have been already at the next lawn or driving to it. Then she gives me the check. Like, I stopped having those people in my life. Like, those are not people that appreciate value. Those are low budget, poverty mindseted, low income thinking people. Or she could have been, well off, but again, same mentality, like cheapskate, micromanaging, wanting to just be that kind of person, wanting to be a Karen or a Kevin, or a Randy. And that's just super annoying. So I'm not in business for those people at all. I don't think you should be either. So anyway, those are just a bunch of things that kind of like, as you can probably tell, some thorns in my side, or some triggers. There you go. Those are some triggers for me over the years, man. I've endured a lot, and I came from retail where I had to just smile and wave, boys. Another little reference there for those of you animated kids movie fans. But I had to just, deal with people treating me like garbage as a manager, employees sometimes, but mainly customers. Just screaming at me, call me all kinds of names or whatever. When they cross the line, I would just be like, all right, you need to leave, and I would get security if I needed to, because sometimes people would get all crazy. But, ultimately at the end of the day, my point is, it wasn't my business. I was just managing some other massive company's business. There's that one store that I was at, and I had to always have my best face on and be nice. I'm so sorry, and we'll do better, and, whatever. And I got used and abused constantly by people. Some people just loved to treat you like garbage, and after doing that for 15 years, it really wears on you. So that was part of my downfall as well, of just not being in it to win it anymore with retail management. I just had no quality of life. I felt like I never really saw my family as much as I wanted to. And when I did, there wasn't the best quality there, because I was always tired and depressed and dreading the next day that I had to go to work, and sometimes getting texts or phone calls from work, from another supervisor, like, hey, what did you do with blah blah blah, or hey, that customer came back in, what did you tell her to do, or someone's freaking out, what am I supposed to do, or my boss complaining about something, you didn't do blah blah blah, or you should have never left until you finished blankety blank. And I'm like, you know what, F you, bruh. But anyway, we're going off the rails here on this episode. I'm feeling a certain kind of way. I told you this has been all like 8 years worth of stuff here, but I'm just keeping it real, super real on this episode here. Rookie unfiltered, right? LCR unfiltered here. But anyway, just don't, it's your business. And so coming into this business, starting my business, I was not trying to be used and abused by people. But at the same time, I had to dial it back, because immediately I was like an attack dog with these people, because I was so scarred from, all the retail days and everything. And I had to dial it back and realize that, well, one, it's still it's my business. So I want to put my best foot forward. I want to have a good reputation, my business name's on the truck and all this stuff. I've got, my logo shirt. Like, I'm not going to cut people. Well, I would never cut people off, but I mean, like, I'm not going to give anyone a mean look or a dirty look when they cut me off, or they drive by, speed by or flip me off or whatever. I'm not going to, flip them back off or something, like I always had to have my owner cap on, right? Like, okay, I need to be on my best behavior, stay professional as much as possible, even though someone's being crazy. And when in those cases with customers or whatever, being rude and disrespectful, I would still have to try and handle it as professionally as possible. Sometimes I would, my knee-jerk responses to emails or texts, or sometimes confrontations in person, didn't go so well, because like I said, I was scarred, and I was just really not trying to have it. So I had to dial that back a little bit and start to become more professional in those scenarios. I was naturally de-stressing anyway and kind of healing myself, because I was my own boss. I was an owner operator, mowing lawns and doing all the other services that I was offering over the years by myself, for the first 4 years, trying to grow my business behind the scenes to get ready to have employees and grow some more and so on. Just to get a nice sizable sustaining business that didn't require me to be doing all the work all the time. And I can, again, spend more time with my family and do other things and have more quality of life while still having a source of income, and providing that for other folks, for the rest of my team in the business. So, that I just really had to be intentional with, how I spoke to people and how I dealt with things. But like I said, I was naturally starting to get a little more relaxed and de-stressed, but then also being more conscious of how I reacted to some of these people and their ridiculousness. So, just at the end of the day, it was and still is my business. So I could say and do whatever I want, but I want to stay in business, right? So, remember that above everything else. But I mean, pricing is another thing that I'm just thinking about. That's another thing that you don't want people. Obviously, they try to dictate that, let's make a deal and all this stuff. Like, you tell them a price for something, which is probably low anyway if you're doing it all on the fly. How many times do people drive up to you or walk up to you? How much do you charge? It's like, keep it moving. If that's the first thing out of your mouth, I don't even want to talk to you. My ideal clients never come to me that way. Their first question is not how much do you charge, ever. The only people that say that in my world, in my business, in my area, are the people that I don't want. The people that are going to hold on to the check while they're looking around their lawn, looking for any little thing, wasting my time before they pay me. Like, those are the people that are like, how much do you charge? I don't want nothing to do with those people. So, but that might just be me. I'm just telling you from my experiences. I avoid those people, at all costs, like pricing, all that stuff. Like the price is what the price is, like I said, your price is probably too low anyway. If you're just throwing it out there when they come up to you and say, how much do you charge? And you're just trying to come up with it, it's probably a good general average, but it should be more anyway. And then they try to haggle you down, and it's like, what the heck? Like, no, it's your business. It's your prices. I mean, it is what it is, right? One quick example of how this still happens to me. A few years ago, in one of the prominent neighborhoods that we're in, the wealthiest of the neighborhoods that we're in, $1 million homes, dentists, eye doctors, whatever, and their wife is like, a real cheapskate and a pain in the neck. She's basically a Karen. And she's over here. She's a PETA is what she is. She's a real pain in the ass, a PETA customer. She was. And, at one point she asked me if I could just push mow her whole yard because for whatever reason, she just liked that look over, the big commercial mower. It's not like we were tearing up her yard or anything like that. I don't even know what, or even care to even go into what her mindset was on that nonsense. Just the point is, we had to start push mowing her backyard because it was all muddy in the middle until she put in some French drain or something that was supposedly in the works. So it was just a temporary thing that we were using the 30-inch mower on a pretty small, it was long but narrow, stretch of grass in the backyard. It took 20 passes or something, just back and forth, knock it out. And she thought, well, geez, if you can do that, why can't you do the whole yard like that? I'm like, well, sure, we could do the whole yard like that. I don't want to do the whole yard like that. It's not necessary to do the whole yard like that. Your front yard is a lot bigger than your backyard, so it's going to take a lot longer to use a smaller mower for it. We're supposed to use the biggest mower that we can for your property or the sections of your property without damaging the property. It's going to make it look good, and it's going to be fast and efficient for us because time is money. That's how it goes with maintenance. You're not going to pay me $100 to push mow your lawn, so just stop. Pay me the $50 and I'm gonna knock it out nice and fast and efficient, and it's going to look good with the big mower. So there's no need to push mow your whole yard. We're only doing the backyard temporarily. But if you really, 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 really insist on us using a smaller mower for your entire yard, well, I'm just going to have to go up on your price. So she didn't like any of that. And then she came back, emailed me later with a quote saying that she got a quote from somebody else that would do it. No, I'm sorry. Time out. I said I would permanently, like I would regularly push mow the back. I said, I would continue to push mow the back because, until you get it all fixed or whatever. Or if you just want us to do that permanently anyway, because you just like how that looks, the back is small enough, we can do that. But I will have to increase your price to be able to push mow the back permanently. Like we were just doing it, like I said, temporarily without charging her extra. It was like an extra 5 minutes, maybe 5 or 6 minutes of us to push mow that someone to go do that in the back, which is annoying. And that's time is money, of course, but it was temporary. And I just figured it would be over sooner or later, but she wanted us to do it regularly. If that's what she wanted, then we had to raise the price. So not for the whole thing. I was like, no, we're not push mowing the whole thing. That's the whole thing I said before. It's not necessary, blah, blah, blah. So it was just the back that I said we would push mow, but I would have to charge you more. She didn't like that. She came back with a quote. She didn't give me the quote. She said that she got a quote from someone else that would push mow the entire thing. I say push mow, but use a 30-inch mower for her entire yard for less than what I was already charging her to use the big mowers. I'm like, what? So she asked me, nice enough, right? She wasn't like, she didn't just lead with, I say nice enough, but whatever. I mean, she didn't lead. I don't know if this is nice enough or if I even want to say that about this person, but she could have just said, hey, we're going to cancel your, we're going in a different direction, right? We decided to change services, or we no longer need your services, or we're canceling services, right? All the different scenarios, all the different types of ways of people saying that they're canceling you, and not even tell you why. Or she could have said, I found somebody else that's going to push mow the whole yard for less than what you're charging, for currently, which was using the bigger mowers. But instead of canceling, she asked if we could match that. And I was like, okay, no. I'm not sure what this person's business model is and how they're able to be profitable and use a 30-inch mower on your entire yard and charge you less than what I'm charging you, which quite frankly, I should probably be charging you more, right? Because we're always charging less and we should always than what we should. And we always should be raising our prices, right? We talk about that all the time. And you want me to go lower and do more work. That makes a whole lot of sense. So I was like, no, I'm sorry, that can't happen. I basically said what I just said, but in a more professional way. I said, like, I'm not sure what that company's business model is and how they're being profitable with that, but my business cannot be profitable doing that at that price. So I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm sorry, I can't do that. And she just responded, I'm sorry too, good luck to you or something, bye or whatever, But that's just one of so many examples. I don't want to go down a million rabbit holes on this episode. That's just one pretty good example of somebody that tried to regulate things, and had it been years prior, had I been solo, got my belt drive, walk behind Toro mower, just huffing it around, just doing whatever, just trying to make some money, trying to pay the bills, I might have just been like, okay. And just, I didn't have no 30-inch mower back then. Get my 22-inch Husqvarna mower out and just sweating my butt off, double the time for less money. Push mowing this woman's yard in like $1 million neighborhood. Like, what? What the heck would I look like? I don't know. It is what it is to the people that are doing it, and I've seen them because, I'm still in her neighborhood with all the other people that are not like her, that were mowing their yard perfectly fine and they think everything's fantastic. But occasionally we have been there at the same time and I see the people there and I just shake my head because I hesitate having this conversation on a separate episode, on a dedicated episode. I've thought about it because I kind of feel like the fate of our industry or the fate of lawn maintenance is in the hands of this topic and this situation. But I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave that part at that. I just shake my head because it's like, man, these guys are just they're going to kill the industry. We're never going to grow. We're never going to get better. We're never going to be able to charge more. This is why a $40 yard, right, Troy Clogg, right? Is that who it was up in Michigan? Brian Fullerton and Paul Jameson interviewed him separately on their podcasts and YouTube videos and whatnot. And he said, and they've quoted him saying this, and he said it as well. A $40 yard today, a $40 yard back in the 80s or 90s, whenever it was, is still a 40-yard lawn today. It's still a $40 yard today. Like, what sense does that make? But meanwhile, pickup trucks back, in the 80s is a heck of a lot more expensive now, the same truck, right? So everything else has gone up in price. Everything, milk, eggs, whatever. Everything has gone up except our prices. What sense does that make? That literally makes no sense, that people have to pay more for everything else that they do. I'm not even talking about right now in 2022 and all this inflation, all the craziness going on with COVID and our economy now and blah, 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 and who's the president, who's not, and all this garbage that everybody talks about, instead of just focusing on their own problems and dealing with overcoming them in their own business and all that. And they're not even raising their prices, complaining about the president and who is and who isn't, and gas and they don't have nothing to do with the dang gas. Oh, it's election. That's why this and that. Oh yeah. Like who even cares? Oh man, I digress here. Anyway, you're not even raising your own freaking prices. Like, come on. Get it together. Like, the president has nothing to, this president or that president has nothing to do with your freaking prices. Raise your prices, man. Grow a pair. Anyway, this is quite the episode. I can't. I'm going to get some feedback on this one. Anywho, just raise your prices, because we're never going to get anywhere as an industry if guys are out there charging $40 push mowing lawns. Like, we shouldn't be charging $40 zero turn mowing lawns. Like, come on. Anyway, I think I'm going to end this episode on that note. Woo! Good times. PSA, public service announcement. LCR needs a cold drink or something. I don't know. Anyway, I've been thinking about that for some time now. So it is what it is. I just, we're never going to change until we change. So I'm just trying to spit some stuff out there for you guys in the best way that I can. Sometimes, truth hurts. It is what it is. But, hopefully you found some value in that stuff that I said, and just, don't remember, you might be doing this hopefully you enjoy what you're doing. But that can quickly change when you let all these things that I just rattled off and then some start controlling your life and your business and everything else. And then it's not going to be fun anymore. And you're going to be right back to wherever the heck you were before you started this business, potentially, miserable or whatever. So, try something new, make some changes. It ain't all that bad. You're in more control than you think you are. You can't control the rain, obviously. There's things that you can't control. That stuff is super frustrating, but it is what it is. Mother Nature, it's weather, but control what you can control and don't stress out about the rest. Or at least try not to. Life is too fragile. That's another episode that I was thinking about making. Anyway, life is too fragile to be worrying about stressing out so much on so many things. So, all right, guys, I'm starting to ramble now, going down all kinds of other rabbit holes that I wasn't intending. So let's wrap it up here at the 40-something minute mark. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you to the Toro Company for sponsoring the LCR Media Podcast. Hopefully this one didn't go too off the rails for him here. But I appreciate you guys listening. Always trying to keep it real, keep it honest, and give you guys value. So till the next time, this is the Lawn Care Rookie signing off.
This has been an LCR Media and Mr. Producer production.